This year I read 90 books so far, and out of those 26 were new releases. So today what I bring you is those adult fantasy books that really made the cut, top reads, and I really believe that you cannot miss them. Starting with Daughter of the Moon Goddess. This is a nation-inspired story. It has one main point of view. At its core, it's a growing up story. It's fairly plot driven, but at the same time we will get to know our girl, our character, throughout different stages of her life, which will make this book a really good blend between both elements. Also, the narration of this book, it's pretty good, so if you have the opportunity, go and check it out. And what I love the most about this book, it's definitely this setting. We have this character that has a tiny little bit of magic. One day she will display that magic, putting her on the fleet and leaving her mom. So from that moment onwards, our girl will have as the personal mission to save her mom, and in order to do so, she will infiltrate and she will try to gain the respect of this celestial court, and while doing so will embark in this amazing adventure to understand the court, to start to become a warrior and face this war that is coming upon them. The drawback of this book is that it goes pretty fast. We will follow our characters who are immortal, and therefore it's normal for them to pass a lot of years without really blinking an eye. But for us readers, might be a little bit difficult to connect with the characters. Also, this is not the type of book where you enjoy the details of the journey, but rather that the actions when you get there are amazing. Moving to a deeply cozy and a book that I really believe that it's perfect to get you out of a reading slump, we have Legends and Lattes. This is such a short standalone, been described as high fantasy with low stakes, perfect as a palate cleanser between more heavy epic fantasy series, because in here what we'll see, it's an incredible cast of characters that are very charming. We'll have this ogre that was a warrior in her past life, and she wants to retire from that life because, you know, she got tired, she grew older, and also she tasted coffee, this beverage that only the dwarves had, and as a result she started this path of changing life and set her mind to open this coffee shop in this medieval village. And we'll follow her creating and chasing this dream, facing the different challenges, meeting the different people. And I know it sounds underwhelming, but really it's such a comfy, a hopeful book, a happy book, a cozy book. Loved it. And we change gears to a book that it's deeply character driven, that it's almost a historical fiction autobiography kind of book, but hear me out because it is amazing, and it is Kaikeyi. This is also a new debut for this year, and it's a retelling of this Hindu legend, and this is the type of story where the evil one it's telling the story will follow what happens. Discovering this story is what makes it good, but I'll just say that this is a growing up story, that it's a fighting story. Also, it has a tiny little bit of magic, but it's not a book that has a hard magic system or that its core it's the magic, but rather the relationship between the different characters and the character growth of our girl Kaikeyi. At a high level, we will follow Kaikeyi, who lives in this land believing that magic exists, and she's the loving daughter of this king, but early on she will discover that she has a little bit of magic. From that moment onwards, we will see how her destiny is not going to be entirely controlled by her, and how she will be fighting against what is expected from her, from the society, and how she will be creating different bonds throughout her life, and, you know, maybe becoming evil. And we continue with the Stardust Thief. This is also a new debut, and it really surprised me. Listen, it's a little bit of a chunky, but it is all worth it. It has this Arabian setting, which I believe was fantastically done. So if you liked City of Brass, this is such a good reminder of that scenery. Also, we will follow a girl who is super witty. She is so brave, and you know, she's an independent kind of girl, a quest, a chosen one, and also a little bit of a slow burn. But the main thing is this quest. The story will start with our girl and her Jean, who is her bodyguard. These two are in the business of finding relics and then selling them, which has gotten this reputation for our girl as the Midnight Merchant. This will get into the knowledge of the Sultan, who will put her on this path of finding this relic that it's supposed to bring magic back to this land. But things won't be easy, and along the way she will fight different monsters, and there's going to be also a lot of politics involved, so I really really enjoyed. And we move to a short standalone, I believe perfect to get you out of reading slump again, and it is Nettle Bone. This is a very foresty kind of book, and it has a quest at its core, which is incredible. We will also see a lot of family found vibe, a lot of banter, a little bit of a soft magic system with witchcraft, and there's going to be also a fair amount of politics and of royalty involved. What I absolutely loved about Nettle Bone is the humor. It has such a dark, light-hearted tone for the things that are in reality happening, and we'll also have this character that is almost naive, but at its core it's really brave, and I utterly loved this story. It follows our girl who is the third sister to the throne, so she does not really believe herself to be important for the royalty, and also she seems a little bit unfit, so it's kind of like laying low. Ow! But one day she will realize that her sister, who is married to this man in the neighbor kingdom in order to avoid war, it's treating her very badly. And you know, no one can really do anything because that might unravel a war. So she will take it upon herself to save her sister. Just one thing, don't be discouraged by the first chapters. I know they're kind of weird and out of context because we will have these live in the future, but then we go to the past and things are explained to that present moment kind of formula. But once that you get there, it's amazing. We have, of course, Babel by Eric Guam. This is a book that really I got to it with low expectations, but at the same time with such fear. First, because it's a little bit of a chunky, and second, because the puppy war took my heart, break it into small pieces, and it just made confetti out of it. But what can I say? Babel, it's really a read worth your time. It is really slow and very character driven, which might not be the cup of tea for a lot of high fantasy readers or epic readers that want more of the plot always going on, but this is such an enjoyable read. It has this formula where we see how things start like this and eventually we are climbing this climax. Things are accumulating and you cannot get more excited reading it. It follows these different characters going into Babel. Babel, it's this place where they will study languages, where they will become translators, because languages are the key that unlocks the world. There's also magic to be performed through the power of translation and language, which was also really interesting. We will see how these characters are for very different places. They are living in Oxford and they are studying in order to become a weapon for Great Britain, and therefore their destiny, it's not going to be easy. It is mesmerizing from moment one. Just push a little bit until you get at least to Babel. It will become a legit dark academia book. Right, and before we end, we have two young adult fantasy books that I believe are perfect also for adult readers, so stick around. And we have the conclusion of the Aurelian Cycle, Fury Song. This book broke my heart so much. We will live in the aftermath of a revolution where the Dragon Lords were at the top of this society. They killed a lot of people and they were really mean. Therefore, people rebelled against them, and we will have two main points of view here. Friends that have an incredible difficult relationship because they come from very different backgrounds, and now they are about to face these trials in order to get the control of the fleet. And we conclude this list with Belladonna by Adeline Brace, the best beginning that I've read in a while. Like the prologue, it's just amazing, and we will follow our girl who has a special power. She is unable to die, but whenever she gets closer to those situations, or whenever she has had terrible accidents, she realizes that she can see death. And so from that moment onward, she will start hating death, and we'll see how she will get into this family manor and how there's a thriller and mystery to be solved, and she and her powers will play a very special role. And if you want to keep discovering amazing adult fantasy reads, I will leave here a video with the 20 best adult fantasy books.